Hi travellers, today we're at Northdown and we're talking to Snow Thomas. How are you, Snow?
Good morning, everybody.
We've got a few more people in the room today. We've got Jason in the background and the real Howell in the background, and we're just going to give him the set questions we do for the Yaffle. So, Snow, where was you born and who were your parents?
Well, my name is really Bertram.
Bertram, sorry.
I'm named after my grandfather, Colin Bertram, who lived in Western Queensland. I was born in the Trove, the 1st of May, 1931. I'm the second of twins. We both survived, not identical. We were born in the, as it was then, new theatre across the road from the old Devon Hospital, where the ambulance station is now.
Okay. Yeah.
The hospital was very proud of it because it had clerestory lighting all round, so very good natural lighting
Yep.
for daytime operations.
Yep.
Dr. Walpole, who had come out in the late 1860s to clear in South Australia and was still practising in 1940, delivered us.
Yeah, right. So what year was you born?
1931. I'm 91 now.
Right. Yep. And who were your parents?
My father was Harold Thomas. His parents and grandparents had lived on Northdown. The family farm was taken up by in 1828. My mother was Jean Bertram. She had been a kindergarten teacher and a nurse in Queensland before they met at the Williamstown Rectory in 1926 and married a few months later. She was a good horseman, accomplished horsewoman, and having lived 200 kilometres west of Blackall, she was used to a very masculine society.
Yeah.
Where she and her mother were the only two women on the station.
Were they?
With about 20 men.
Yeah, right.
So she was adaptable
Yep.
to farm life.
And did you grow up on Northdown or?
Yes, Depression years, of course.
Yep.
We didn't have much in the way of clothing, barefooted whenever we could be. We wore sandals if we were going out,
Yep.
but we used to visit our cousins and neighbours, roam around the country. We were free-range children. No one worried very much. We knew our way to farms 2 or 3 kilometres away. And at one particular place, we would get lemonade, another one ginger beer, another one the specialty was lemon barley water.
Yep. Yep.
And later on, another cousin came to farm and she produced date scones, and I love date scones.
Ever since. Yeah, right. The who were your grandparents? Can you remember your grandparents?
My paternal grandfather died before I was born. He died in 1927. His widow lived till 1944.
Yep.
Granny, I called her. The other two, my maternal grandmother died of the Spanish flu in 1919 in Queensland.
Yep.
And her husband, Colin Bertram, was elderly. At that time, he retired down to Melbourne in the 1930s. And I remember him, I called him Big Dad. He was big, he was well over 6 feet.
Was he? That was tall for back then, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, right. And where did you go to school?
The Wesley Vale, initially St Margaret's Kindergarten in Devonport,
Yep.
run by Dr Walpole's third wife. And after St Margaret's Kindergarten, we used to board 3 nights a week in Devonport, I think.
Yep. Yep. And
Wesley Vale Area School
Yep.
was established in 1936. Lindsay Cobbett headmaster, and we went to school there for several years.
Yep.
Remember, before the war, we didn't know there was going to be a war, so we were still living in the aftermath of the First World War.
Yep.
And we used to sing La Marseillaise before a French flag from time to time.
Yep. Yep.
Because we were allies there.
Yep. And how far through school did you go? Did you go to?
At that stage, Wesley Vale, we were still learning skills like tinsmithing and saddlery.
Yeah.
And the girls the girls were separate there, of course, and they used to give us rissoles and mashed potatoes every Thursday.
Ah.
I remember that. Domestic science, that was called.
And how did you get to school?
We walked to the main Port Sorell, Devonport Road,
Yep.
and caught Richardson's bus, which was a corridor bus, so the seating was down the sides, and it was a locally built body put on a truck tray.
Oh, okay.
In those days, you had firms like Parsons and Gilmore and Alverson and Luck Brothers in Devonport who made bodies for vehicles.
Yep.
And I think Parsons and Gilmore, of course, made a lot of the railway carriages of the day too.
Did they? Yeah, right.
Very skilled tradesmen.
Yep. So what grade did you go to? Did you go to grade 10 or did you go to further education? Or
No, Wesley Vale School was I think probably went to grade 7 or 8, but at grade 6 we transferred to Lawson Grammar School.
Yep.
The war had started. A lot of people were getting away from the coast, and my parents were pretty well involved with wartime activities like the VDC and the Women's Land Army, and we were sent off to boarding school in Launceston in 1942.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
My first year there was a good year from the educational point of view because we had a good teacher, a class of only 8, no dunces, and we finished our syllabus by August, and the last year of my primary education, the last 3 or 4 months was just spent polishing us up ready for secondary education.
Yeah. Did you go to university?
No.
No.
After I matriculated just in 1948 and then went to New Zealand. I was still only 17 when I left for New Zealand. I worked at the Tasmania Potato Marketing Board's stand at the Sydney show to earn my fare, and then I spent the rest of that year in Southland learning a lot about sheep husbandry, then later on that year in a wool store in Napier learning handling of wool. And then the following year I went to Lincoln College, which was near Christchurch. The connection there was that the director of that college, Eric Hudson, had been the founding director of the reformed agricultural department in Tasmania after it was reformed in 1927. He went back to New Zealand in 1939.
Yep.
So he knew Tasmanian conditions, and Tasmanians respected him because of the job he'd done whilst here.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was your first job?
My first paid job.
Yeah.
Well, the first paid job was probably when I was about 7 or 8.
Yeah. What was you doing?
Threepence an hour, using a Shetland pony and a small sledge to cart barrels of water to thrashing machines.
Yeah.
So the water for the traction engine.
Yeah. Yep.
I was the I was the water joey.
Yeah, it was the water joey.
As they were then called.
Was the horse yours or was someone else's horse?
No, a Shetland pony, I was never very fond of it though.
Oh, you didn't like it?
Bad tempered thing.
Tried to bite you?
So that was my first paid job.
Yeah.
In the war years, quite often, we worked for 1 and 6 an hour, cocking peas or turning wet cocks of peas, so they dry over.
Yep.
In those days, all thrashing was done by thrashing machines and
because you
using
used to have to pitchfork it in, didn't you? Like
yes.
Yeah. And well, have you always lived at North Down, or have you lived in New Zealand, obviously, for a little bit?
Yes, apart from my 3-year sojourn in New Zealand, most of my life's been spent on North Down. I did spend 3 or 4 months in West Australia in 1953 to see how I liked the life on farms there. I worked on an agricultural research station. Remembered chiefly for the brand new Chamberlain tractor made in West Australia, which was a horizontally opposed twin-engined tractor, and having a puncture there, and the design of the tractor involved undoing 36 studs to sit the rim to take the tar off.
Yeah, right.
Not very easy work.
No. It'd be hot there too, wouldn't it?
Yeah, quite hot, yes.
Yeah. Was you married? Have you been married?
I married in 1961. I went to a hunt-come ball at Bowood near Bridport and saw a tall girl in a bright red ball gown and introduced myself.
Yeah.
And 2 or 3 years later we married.
You got married. Oh, good.
My obsession in those days was water skiing, so I think possibly water skiing came first in my interest. Anyway, she had an interesting life. She was born in England to an American mother and Yorkshireman father, and he directed agriculture in Malta during the war years, so he had the difficult job of making sure that the food in Malta was equally distributed.
Yeah.
People would come in off the street into their kitchen to see if they were eating any better than the common people.
Yeah.
Anyway, he carried out that job effectively and well.
Yeah.
But when the war ended in 1943, with the surrender of the Italians, she returned to England and later made her way to Hobart to commence a university course.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's when I met her.
That's when you met her.
I met her.
And did you have children?
Yes.
How many?
We had 3, we lost 1.
Yep. Yep.
Uh,
And we've just got a couple more questions. What's your favourite holiday destination?
Anywhere where there are palm trees.
Palm trees. So not in Tasmania.
No, because many years ago in Fiji I learned to weave hats out of palm leaf
Yeah.
and became an obsession.
Right.
I'm trying to make the perfect one.
Yep.
So I've made literally hundreds of hats over the years.
Yep.
There's some up there.
Yeah.
And
Right. Yep.
also bowls
Yep.
and even bras.
Yeah. Right. And last question, Snow. What's your advice for the younger generation? Or what is your advice?
To work hard,
Yep.
keep clear of drugs,
Yep.
and respect your elders, of course. I must say that.
Yeah, for 100%. Rightio. Well, that's a little snippet of Snow's 91 years. Thanks very much, Snow.